Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is a talk video. I almost changed this to make it say rant, but I don't have the time to do that. I've got a grand arena to do. This video about the title update, specifically, it's going to be a rant on the game health in reaction to the territory battle phase requirements and what I think that is going to do to the game. I think this is important enough to dedicate a single video to it, but we have such a backlog of gearing that I need to show that we're going to tack that on at the end. Plus, it'll just beef up the video length a little bit, and the algorithm hates short videos. So we got to protect against that while we continue to grow the channel. We're not going to really get into this title update. Most of this we heard well in advance. We're using this instead as a vehicle to address a larger issue of concern. I've opined on this repeatedly in past videos with the Profundity and the Grand Inquisitor events most recently. I think this is the biggest threat to the game. But as minimum level requirements become the evolving standard for the endgame, their danger and malignancy needs to be emphasized and their impact fully understood, especially right now because in this new territory battle, they're going to have massive effects on our rosters. I think it important to establish my bona fides here, that I'm not a CG hater for anyone newer to the channel, because I think there's diminishing returns in being always negative. I choose my spots. And if I'm highlighting something that I don't like, it's because I think it hurts the health of the game. I've defended a lot of CG's past choices. I'm the type of player and person who didn't complain about the challenge Ringor and locking out a gear piece with it. I didn't care about relics when they were first added. I've defended every added relic level, because those moves allow for roster differentiation, and they allow for smart players to find advantages against less discerning and efficient opponents. What I have instead consistently clamored about is the danger of minimum requirements, because what they do is create roster uniformity. And that is awful for Grand Arena. Grand Arena is the heart of the game. And when CG forces players into roster minimums, what results is going up against opponents and rosters that look nearly identical. Take the Profundity, for instance, or the Executor before it. We're pretty consistently playing similar fleets at similar levels, and that gets boring. What was amazing about the old Grand Arena was not the matchmaking. What was awesome was that various players could play in any manner of ways with that, and that resulted in playing drastically different rosters. These days, increasingly, CG is pushing us all towards playing the same way. And that may be good for CG's bottom line, but it is cancerous for the long-term health of the game. Players should have more allowance to play the game they want to play it, build their rosters the way they want to build them, because as players we are all different. Extra credits if you know that YouTube channel has some really good videos on game theory and game design. Some players are collectors, some are socials, some are maximizers, some are explorers, and a healthy and vibrant game should appeal to all types of players. CG is instead catering to a single play type and forcing the rest of us to adopt that play style. And that will increase players leaving the game as they lose how this game appealed to them in the first place. Understand the consequences of what CG is setting up here. Right now, some players have Relic Geos, some don't. Some players have Smugglers, others don't. That is good. It means we have dynamic Grand Arenas where we don't see the same defenses and squads at the same relic levels. In the past, when CG has been slow to update the defensive team counts, We've seen a version of this. Grand Arena stagnated for a little bit. Every defensive scheme became nearly identical. We faced similar defenses at similar gear levels, and it was boring. And players were getting tired of the game. Some quit. That was done by accident through delays, CG not anticipating when they needed to make those increases. Requirements like this territory battle risks the same, and it's being done intentionally, as we are all forced into building similar squads in order to participate fully. It will push our grand arenas into uniformity. And I'm not naive here. CG's job is to make money for EA. This is not a game. Don't be fooled. We are participants in a money-making machine that uses addiction mechanics packaged with intellectual property to keep a captive consumer base engaged. But even with that mission, CG had options here that would help the long-term health of the game and allow them to continue making money off of it. Make the relic levels lower so that players have more room to work with to create that roster variety. Just making those thresholds lower so that there is room to climb so players can distinguish themselves. Have fewer required squads at whatever relic levels. There's carrots and sticks, and minimum relic levels on a squad in order to participate is a stick when it comes to roster development. Carrots instead would be granting the accomplishment of beating a wave or mission once certain levels were added. Set the ceiling, not the floor, because the ceiling means a wide variety of relic levels in other game modes. Floors spread uniformity. Look at the other game modes. That's what's fun about galactic challenges, assault battles, conquest, the diversity of solutions. Players being engaged in figuring things out and not CG dictating play. And that's the main thesis here. Raise the ceiling, not the floor. For a player like me, this puts me into a tough spot. Of course, I want Third Sister, but do I want to pay the price? Because the price of Third Sister is now not the Grand Inquisitor and 4 Relic 7 Inquisitors. The price of Third Sister is working on all of those things, Young Lando, Kit Fisto, Geo's, whatever squad, because if you're in a guild going after this TB, it means you need to be doing all of this, which just means Kyber levels of Grand Arena are going to increasingly look the same. And the end result is we're going to end up seeing Grand Inquisitor, Third Sister squads that all look pretty similar. Grand Inquisitor and Riva at Relic 7 Plus, whatever beats a GL, surrounded by Relic 7 Inquisitors. And we see this with everyone having the same Radis Rogue One teams. We see it with Galactic Legends, where every team just looks like the minimum requirements to unlock one. What CG is doing with minimum relic levels at each phase of territory battles is spreading the GL requirement effect across our rosters. It will spill over into Grand Arena and cause our Grand Arenas to become more uniform. I want this game to continue, but I beg CG to remember that not all players are the same, and they are increasingly making it difficult for a range of players to find ways to enjoy what is remaining in this game, and increasingly only serving a single player type at the expense of their most popular game mode. So we've said everything that I wanted to say. And with the title update, again, there's nothing really here. We've heard all this before. There is one thing that might be a clue. The grab your lightsabers, warm up your X-Wings, make sure you're on Jabba's good side. The Rise Empire territory battle starts soon. Or Rise of the Empire territory battle. The warm up your X-Wings, I think, is interesting. We've been moving towards the possibility of the Home 1 fleet turning into an X-Wing squadron. We've had those Red 5 clues, and I'd like to think that this is intentional, that this is another data point saying it's going to happen soon. I'm less convinced that it's going to happen this month if it does at all. Otherwise, the good side here on Jabba, that's a little interesting to me. The rest of this is, we've addressed most of this in other battles. Yeah. I think we're going to wrap it up. And we have a Treya Omicron video, which we'll do later in the day. Or maybe before this one, I haven't decided. And now for our wrap up, the free-to-play gearing of my roster. We did this on October 10th. This video was labeled Hondo, so this is probably soon after the Hondo Marquee event. You know what, let's make this even faster. I don't know if this is fast enough. But we take Hondo up to Gear 11. This is something that everyone's going to be able to do much more easily now with the gear update. This is something that I plan around, strategize around, but this stuff is going to be pretty trivialized. It's going to be pretty simple to follow what I do and just get to that Gear 11 staging ground so you can just use these new characters and have more fun, because that's part of the reason I do this and I opt for the new characters instead of relics, because that's where my Kairos go. Why I have fewer relics is I like to have the new characters. It's more fun to me. And it's one of the trade-offs with the effects of the territory battle changes. I'm going to be forced into allocating my Kairos into different places. And I don't believe I put it on now. I do have that Omicron now. I do think it's good, but I like to do more A/B testing. I wanted to see what Hondo looked like without it first. Even with it, at least at Gear 11 and low stars, haven't really found a meaningful use for him. He's good, but I'm still feeling out how I want to use him in a strategic sense. Melgus here, bringing him up to Relic 7. We've just worked with him incrementally. He's a deserving high Relic character. Relic 7, though, is where I'm going to be leaving him, because what I found with him is he can't beat anything he wasn't going to beat at higher Relic levels. And anyone that... And he's going to... Like, he's not going to punch up with higher Relic levels, and he's already beating everything he already beats without it. So why worry about it? Oh, and what I did with Darth Revan there is I'm raising the Relic levels on Darth and Bastila here in order to use Datacrons. These are the kinds of things that we're seeing in the game now that are minimizing those roster differentiation, whereas just in order to minimally participate, we're going to have to meet certain requirements and spread that uniformity. Let's see, what else? Did I do anything else? You can see the progress on ships and other progress. That is where we are leaving it for this week. Only one more gearing that I did the month of October, and then we're going to be moving into the November stuff and getting caught up pretty soon. And that wraps up this rant video. Next one is going to be far more positive, because it's going to be about that Treya Omicron, and I'm already in love with it, like everything that I see. But thank you for watching. Thank you for putting up with that. Be safe out there, everyone, and be excellent to each other. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.